What do you got today, Willie Doo?
Xiaomi, they announced a $150 Redmi Note 7 with a 48 megapixel camera.
Okay, so recently we did a video about some upcoming Samsung devices targeting this part of the market, this sub $200 price point. They were calling their series Galaxy M, but setting right in their crosshairs the Redmi brand from Xiaomi. So I think it's probably not a coincidence that we end up hearing about this shortly after that news came out. Now this looks equally compelling to go up against those Galaxy M products, and it kind of fits the narrative of what we've been talking about regarding this innovation and unusual specifications and features popping up in devices that are nowhere near flagship level. For example, a 48 megapixel camera on a $150 phone.
And we talked about it before, where these smartphone manufacturers are willing to experiment with different types of features.
They can take bigger risks at that end of the market. Now there's something interesting about this 48 megapixel sensor, because I know a lot of people watching this are sitting there thinking, look, it's not all about pixels, all right? You can have a camera with tons of megapixels and have a terrible image come out of it, but the way that this sensor is going to be implemented into the camera, from what I understand, is that it will be capable of taking super high resolution 48 megapixel pictures in good lighting conditions, but then it can actually pair the pixels together so you get a bigger pixel for shooting in low light. So you get greater sensitivity, and it'll just knock back the megapixel count a little bit for a low light style mode. So there's the rest of the specs. Now keep in mind, $150 is the starting price. There will be some different versions, just like there was for the Galaxy M stuff, M10, M20, and so on. The Note 7 here, it says a 6.3 inch display with a 1080p screen, Snapdragon 660, so mid-range Snapdragon. Nothing wrong with that at 150 bucks. The selfie camera will be 13 megapixels. A 4,000 milliamp hour battery will be in there. That's one of the best things happening at this end of the marketplace, where everyone's clamoring at the top end on the $1,000 phones for batteries like this for 4,000 milliamp hours. It turns out the better selection of big battery phones is actually at the bottom of the marketplace. It seems insane. It seems surprising. It seems unusual. It seems weird. You pair a 4,000 milliamp hour battery with a Snapdragon 660, and you've got a phone that's going to last for a very long time. Now, if you remember in the Samsung announcement, it was sort of more of a rumor. We didn't find out in the article that we were citing, or any that we could find at the time, what the processor was going to be in that Samsung device. So it's tough to stack them up head to head at this point. We know what a Snapdragon 660 is. We know it's a great choice, but we don't know what Samsung is going to use in their devices to compete directly with this one. Also, Xiaomi, we know, has operated really well in this marketplace, this low-end, mid to low-end marketplace, $150, $200 price point. So we know they can deliver value at that price point, whereas Samsung's a bit more untested in this space, at least with their new brand, the Galaxy M. Okay, so here we go. The starting price around 150 bucks will be a 3 gigabyte model with 32 gigs of storage. That goes up to 200 for 6 gigs by 64 gigs of storage.
Not to mention, it has a headphone jack.
It has a headphone jack. It's sticking around. I think a headphone jack is actually important, especially at this end of the marketplace. If you think about it, like a $150 phone, you have a lot of Bluetooth headphones that are 150 bucks or 100 bucks or 50 bucks.
Right.
The ratio there, the difference between the cost of the device itself and the headphones you're going to pair with it, I mean, it seems kind of crazy to have your headphones cost as much as your phone. So having a headphone jack for the target audience that's going to be in the market for this phone, I think is a big deal. It has to be there. Now, it does say here at the bottom, this device will actually be available in China first before it makes its way to India and the other regions that Xiaomi would normally sell the Redmi brand. So we're gonna have to keep an eye out for it. Maybe we'll get our hands on it, but it's exciting stuff, Will. We continue to be amazed at what's happening at this end of the market and what it's doing, the kind of disruption it's applying to the entire market, to the brands like Samsung and Apple. We've seen Samsung's play. We're waiting to see what Apple is going to do about this, but it's obvious there's a giant market at this price point, and it's becoming increasingly important.
Especially for the low end. I mean, you have like the Honor View 20, the Huawei Nova 4.
The View 20 is in the mix, so it's a little pricier, but you're right. The View 20 with the pinhole display, you're seeing a lot of experimentation at this end, and that's why it's important for us to talk about it, to give it some coverage, even though it might not necessarily be on the radar for some of our viewers, North American viewers, and so on. It's actually become the place where we're seeing the most interesting stuff happen in the smartphone space.
So $150 Redmi Note 7, 6.3 1080p screen, 3 gigabytes of RAM, 4000 milliamp battery. Do you think this is a worthy competitor?
Don't forget the 48 megapixel camera.
Oh yes.
I don't know, it's really hard to criticize any device at this price point. Like $150 not too long ago would get you nothing, or get you some kind of long contract and you'd be paying something off over a period of time. I'm still so amazed at what they're able to deliver at these price points in general. I would find it hard to imagine that this could be a bad buy with that spec list. I think we're seeing some great competition happen here. I think this is going to be something worth checking out and evaluating, just like the Galaxy M stuff. And maybe we can ask people in the comments now, if you were forced to choose between this upcoming Redmi Note 7 or the rumored Galaxy M devices we covered in the previous episode, which one would you pick and why?